Welcome to the lecture of passing array into a function of C++. Normally we have seen that we can pass values to a function as the arguments to the user-defined function actually, and then we can process those values inside the user-defined functions. So not in a similar way, but we can pass these arrays into a function, into a user-defined function, and then we can process that array and as per the defined logic or solution of the problem. So one thing is you need to remember is that when we pass the array through a function, it does not, array does not pass through values. Okay, so we can pass different other data types using values, parameter passing by values. We have already seen and discussed this in our previous lectures. But here in the arrays, a concept is totally different, because arrays are just like pointers. So therefore we are actually passing the reference to the user-defined function. So it means that when you pass an array to a function, a user-defined function, and in the user-defined function, if you change a value of the array, any index of the array or all the values of the array, so those changes will be actually observed and seen in the main function as well. Okay, so let's see the example. We have actually declared a user-defined function with the name print, and it accepts the array in the parameter list. Okay, so this is a single dimension array which has been declared as a parameter list here in the user-defined function print, and we have a body where we want to print out each and every value using for loop of this array. I haven't written the other conditional statement or the update statement and the size of the array yet, because we need to understand some steps and some concepts related to the passing of array to the function. This is the main function where we have declared an array of size 3, because we have initialized with 3 elements into the array, and we are going to call this user-defined function by writing a name, okay, of the user-defined function, and then we are passing this array to the user-defined function. Okay, so there are two things that you need to remember. One is, if the programmer remembers that the array which we are passing from here has size 3, then you don't need to declare here the size as a parameter. Okay, but if you don't know that what is actually the size of array which should be taken into the user-defined function, then you shall pass the size of the array, for example, comma, and then size of the array is actually 3. So this is the second argument. So for second argument, we need a second parameter to be declared in the user-defined function. So now we don't need to worry about the size, because we are passing the array and the size of the array. So why we are going to declare the size? Because when we pass this ARR, so in previous lecture we have seen that by mentioning just the name of the array is actually accessing the address of the first element in the array. So we are passing the address of the first element of the array into the function. Okay, so therefore we need the size of the array so that we may increment the address that we are passing from here to the main function. So here from this arguments, we can easily comprehend that we have an address of the array and we need to increment it with 2 numbers. Okay, so you can see here that we are passing 2 arguments here. So the address is coming to the first parameter of the print method, and the size is the size of the array. From here you can see the argument 3 is saved in the size integer. So now we can control the array in the user-defined function, because we are passing size from here, not the whole array. You need to understand this concept, and as we have already discussed this in detail in our previous lecture. Okay, so here you can see that the size is given from the argument from the main function, and we need to control our the for loop here just by writing the while I is less than size and I plus. Okay, so this is how we can control our loop, and where we can mention the size from the size parameter which have been controlled by the argument passing from the main function. So we have the address of the array, we have the size of the array, and then we can easily control our loop inside this user-defined function and can access each and every element of the user-defined function. Okay, so in the start of the lecture, I have also discussed that we can change the value of the array in the main function from the user-defined function. So if you change, for example, a value, right now, for example, a of 0, which is the first element, the first slot of the single dimension array, here in this array as well as in this array, because we have passed the address, so both the arrays are pointing to the same location in the memory. So in the first slot, if I assign, for example, 3, okay, so what will happen? And this has been introduced in the user-defined function. Okay, in the user-defined function we have introduced. So this will change not only the value inside the user-defined function, but also in the main function. So the value of the first slot will be replaced with the 3. Okay, so you shall keep in mind that when you pass an array from the main function, you are not passing the whole array as passing by value, but you are passing actually the first address of the array to the user-defined function. So the changes you made to the array inside the user-defined function will also be seen and observable in the main function. Okay, so this can also be controlled using pointer variable here, because we are passing the address. So address can also be saved in a pointer, static pointer A, for example. You can see that we have used a pointer here in the parameter list, which is static A, and we have actually cached the address of the first element of the array here, and then we are going to use the concept of the array. So here you can see a of 0, a of I, while a is a pointer. So this is also allowed in the C++ to use the concept of the array with the pointers. Okay, and we are also allowed to use pointers with the array as well. Okay, and the other option that can be used is to use the dereference operator. Okay, dereference operator here, and here also we can also use a dereference operator with the pointer to print the values and to initialize the values. So the values you are rendering here and change here in the user-defined function will also be seen and observed in the main function. If you want to check and verify, so you need to write a cout statement and then check the position where you have changed the value. Actually, you have changed the the value of first index. So here you can check it by putting 0 as in first index. So in this way you can verify that the value 2 has been changed by the user-defined function, which has now been replaced with 3. So you will see 3 on the screen. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this video.